Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Seth. In today's video, we're going to be recapping / breaking down Euphoria Season 3, Episode 3. So this is your spoiler warning. I am going to be talking about what happened in that episode. So if you've not seen the episode or don't want any spoilers, that is your warning. But if you do not care, then stick around for the rest of the video as I talk about this episode. Now, this episode is the Nate and Cassie wedding episode. That is one of the main points of this episode, but we also have the rising conflict of Elizabeth and Alamo on, who's gonna get Rue. We also get to see Jules and what she's been up to all this time. Now let's get into it. It starts off with Jules, and she wanting to be an artist. She really likes painting, but her art is not paying the bills, and she needs to find a way to pay the bills. So that's where she sees she gets into sugar babying and goes on these dates with these people. Now she goes on this date with this one person that is a plastic surgeon, and he is just in love with Jules and thinks she is so perfect. So Jules starts just going on dates with that guy, and it gets to a point where I guess the guy likes Jules so much that he even lets Jules stay at one of his apartments. We also get to see Rue is moving up, and she's now selling firearms and getting a commission out of that and all that. Now, through the wedding, a lot of the people showed up for this wedding. We had Maddie show up, we had Lexi show up, we had Jules show up, and we had Rue show up. And a lot of them got to reconnect with each other throughout this wedding. Like Jules and Cal got to reconnect, and Cal apologized for all his mistakes on, what happened in Season 1 with Cal and Jules. And it was nice to see him apologize and own up to that. We also got to see Jules and Nate reconnect, and Nate was like, "Thank you for coming. I didn't expect you to come, but thank you." And Jules was like, talking about all of what happened in the previous years. Now, throughout the wedding too, they kind of pan to Maddie and even talk a little bit about the last relationship Nate had, which was Nate and Maddie. And it's looking like Maddie was a little bit more emotional than she wanted to be in this wedding. Even though Maddie's off in a better place because of that toxic relationship she had with Nate, she still has a little bit of feelings or just love for Nate. And it got to her so badly even that she's left early in the wedding because she got too emotional and just couldn't handle it. Now, Rue too also had to leave very early, but that was because of work. Alamo wanted her and this other guy to go to Elizabeth's house to get some product, but the main piece of why they were going to that house was to kill Elizabeth's parrot. And through that time, when they were getting that product, Elizabeth is like, "Oh, I miss you," and stuff like that. "When can I get you back?" And Rue's like, "Well, I really just like working with Alamo right now." And when Rue and that one guy leaves, unfortunately and very sadly, the parrot does die. But when Rue was coming back and driving home and stuff, she gets pulled over by the cops, and that's how it ends of her on this episode. Now back to the Nate and Cassie wedding. It was very extravagant and very expensive looking like we all thought it would be. And this guy named Nas, who was working with Nate in the construction building. Now I've talked about him, but I've not specifically said his name. He comes up to Nate and Cassie's wedding, and he's all like, very, not nice of you to have this expensive wedding, but you're not paying up on your deal with the people who need to be paid. And this is the first time where Cassie really gets to see what Nate is really doing and how much she does not know of what Nate is doing. And they kind of foreshadow that throughout this episode with Cassie's mom even kind of talking about of her previous marriage, with Cassie's mom's previous marriage. And you could just see Cassie's eyes, she's like, "What's going on?" and stuff like that. But Nate's all like, "Hey, I'll get you the money," and stuff like that. "I'm sorry for what's going on. And then he's all like to Cassie, like, hey, just keep on smiling, happy faces, this will get work done. So they have this wedding dance, and it's very, like, risque and just awkward in a sense, in my opinion, because while they're doing those dance moves, you know, on their faces they're looking not so happy, they're looking very, like, worried, and throughout those dance moves too, they're talking to themselves, and Nate's all like, just smile, you know, I'll get this done, I love you, Cassie, trust me, and stuff like that. And this is where we really get to see Cassie's true personality, because in this moment, she's all like, through these dance moves, she was all like, what's going on? And Nate's like, we might have to downsize a little bit. And she's like, downsize? I don't want to downsize. I don't want to be poor. And I'm like, someone is threatening with your life, and that's all you care about is what people are going to think about you and being poor in a sense? Come on, Cassie. Well, she kind of blows up because she gets a little tipsy and a little buzzed with the drink she's having, where at the wedding she goes up to Nate while he's talking to some of his best men, and she was all like, I don't even know you, and you just keep these things from me. You want me to be this housewife and do this and that, but we don't even have enough money to eat and stuff like that. A real man would provide and stuff like that. You're not a real man. And Nate's all like, I provide for you, and, you know, can we talk about this privately and stuff like that? Well, she has one of these bottles, and the corkscrew, you know, with the pressure, pops off and hits Nate in the face and all that. Now, it shows them getting into their car, and Nate smooth talks her, you know, it makes Cassie feel better, so they're more on a happier side. But then when they get home, Nas comes to their home and is all like, lovely wedding, but I didn't want to make a scene. So when Nate turns on the light, one of Nas's muscle guys starts beating up Nate. I mean, you know, he punches him, he falls to the ground, starts bleeding. Cassie then comes over to try to help Nate, and the muscle guy pushes Cassie over, and she starts falling over. She starts hitting her head and falling over, and starts to see herself bleeding through, like, right here, through, like, the nose area. And throughout this scene, in the background, you get to just see Nate really screaming, begging for his life while he's getting beat up, and him trying to get him off, Nate trying to get the guy off. But then you see in the centerpiece is Cassie, like right here, you know, screaming and just mostly crying, I'm sorry. Just being like, this was my wedding day, I'm bleeding, this was supposed to be the most happiest day of my life. And now the guy's like, he doesn't listen, he should have kept his end of the deal and stuff like that. And Cassie's all like, yeah, he never listens. And just being like, you just see this moment while this is happening. And then at the end, you know, they pull Nate back and he's trying to get the guy off of him and stuff like that. But he grabs his foot, basically, and Nas, the guy, grabs these garden clippers, and he's all like, you know, so he chops off the pinky toe of Nate, and he's all like, honeymoon is over. And you just see Nate's foot bleeding, in a sense, and Cassie's all like, and the guy goes to Cassie, goes, sometimes you're married into wealth, sometimes you're married into debt. Apparently you, Cassie, are married into debt. And it just was this really awkward and uncomfortable scene for me, personally, in my opinion. Because, you know, that's the end of the that's really the episode for you. And they do like a recap where Sam Levinson and like a lot of the actors too are talking about the episode. And Sam Levinson is talking about, you know, that scene I just talked about. He's all like, yeah, I really just thought that was so funny, and we just couldn't stop laughing at that. And I'm like, you know, this is how everybody different perceives when they watch an episode. Because me, personally, I was just so awkward and uncomfortable during that scene, because at that moment, you know, Nate from Season 1 to Nate to Season 3 are just two different people. Nate in Season 1, when he was dating Maddie, he was really just an angry, evil narcissist that would do very evil things, like he did Russian roulette on Maddie one time because he was mad at Maddie in season, I think that was maybe 1 or 2, might have been 1 if I'm not mistaken, sorry if I am. And of course too, in these previous years now, I know this was in season 1, Nate beat up a guy named Tyler because Maddie was trying to get back at Nate with this guy named Tyler because they were kissing and stuff like that. So Nate just beats up this guy to a bloody pulp and then puts him into this scandal that was going on in season 1. And then of course too, Nate just being such a evil, threatening person to Jules. And it's like, what happened to that person? Because in season 3, Nate is all like, smile, 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 everything is great, you know? And it was just such an awkward scene. It really showed like, wow, the character of Nate is like not at all what it was in season 1. And really has changed. And I just thought that was such a, just an awkward, uncomfortable scene where it's like, these characters really changed and what has happened, Now, we do talk about what will be going on with the next episode in episode 4. Maddie and Cass will be getting into their working relationship, and we'll see more about Rue and why she got arrested. And of course, too, we'll get to see what's going on with Nate and all that sense. But yeah, me personally was not really liking this episode that much. Just felt really awkward, I guess, for the wedding part, for the Rue, the Jules, and everything else. It was fine, but that wedding scene was just awkward for me. Now, I don't know if they were trying to do that in a sense, but those are just my opinions on what I thought of the episode. Thank you for watching as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and goodbye.